We're going to play a fun little game called Poppin' Off. Carson Palmer is in the house.
Ray Allen.
Reggie Miller. Ice Cube. Ronda Rousey. Johnny Knoxville.
30 seconds for you to make as many shots as possible.
While I ask you questions and you try not to embarrass yourself. Ready to play?
I'm going for the top spot.
I'm coming for you, Ray.
Has anyone scored 69 yet?
This is Poppin' Off.
Better Michael, Jordan or Jackson?
Jackson.
Your guilty pleasure.
Ice cream.
Who wins in a fight, you or Bill Nye?
I outweigh him by 100 pounds.
Oh no, the scoreboard official 2. That's gotta be wrong.
He's got 118. Yeah, Ray. I told you I was coming for you. 128, baby. 128. Get out of here, Reggie Miller.
After the fight's over, what's the coolest thing to happen?
Hot wing.
I'm still the president. You can't impeach me.
So you do think they're a little bit softer in today's NBA. Cut the cameras and you'll agree.
They are softer. No need to cut.
Oh my God, I can't believe I said that out loud.
Can I get a selfie with this?
Yes!
Good evening and welcome to Orlando City Stadium as we get set for the final week of NWSL action before the World Cup break. Orlando Pride welcomes the North Carolina Courage to the Sunshine State. I'm Josh Toll, and with me is the keeper, Jen Cooper. And Jen, both these clubs are in search of 3 points. Orlando looks for their first win at home and on the season, and this could be the night as North Carolina has hit a rough patch these past 5 weeks, but you can never count out the defending champs and McCall Zerboni.
Of course, McCall Zerboni has played every season in this league, and you look at her numbers, she's way up there in games played, started, minutes played. She is the heart and soul of this team, especially in midfield. They've struggled a little bit the last few weeks, but I'm sure she's ready to step up.
They will be relying on the 32-year-old. Huge impact coming forward. Paul Riley couldn't say enough about her in our conference call this week. But for Orlando, they're going to rely on Danny Weatherholt this evening as she takes more responsibility in her leadership role.
Weatherholt out of Santa Clara. She's one of just 2 players in the starting lineup tonight who was with Orlando in its inaugural season in 2016. Such a young team for Orlando this season, which means a player like Weatherholt, even though it's only her 4th season in the league, she really has to be the leader.
You talk about her being her 4th season. Most games played for Orlando with 61. Another player that's going to be relied on moving forward this rest of this NWSL season when we return lineups. Orlando.
What's better than spiking the ball in your friends' faces every fantasy football season? Dunking on them all winter long. Cross over to the hardwood and play Yahoo Fantasy Basketball, the #1 fantasy app. It's easy to play. Set your lineup once and watch the points roll in all week. Head-to-head scoring brings gridiron intensity to the court. Yahoo is the official fantasy game of the NBA. So sign up today and feel the wins in a whole new arena.
We're going to play a fun little game called Poppin' Off. Carson Palmer is in the house.
Ray Allen.
Reggie Miller. Ice Cube. Ronda Rousey. Johnny Knoxville.
30 seconds for you to make as many shots as possible.
While I ask you questions and you try not to embarrass yourself. Ready to play?
I'm going for the top spot.
I'm coming for you, Ray.
Has anyone scored 69 yet?
This is Poppin' Off.
Better Michael, Jordan or Jackson?
Jackson.
Your guilty pleasure.
Ice cream.
Who wins in a fight, you or Bill Nye?
I outweigh him by 100 pounds.
Oh no, the scoreboard official 2. That's gotta be wrong.
He's got 118. Yeah, Ray. I told you I was coming for you. 128, baby. 128. Get out of here, Reggie Miller.
After the fight's over, what's the coolest thing to happen?
Hot wing.
I'm still the president. You can't impeach me.
So you do think they're a little bit softer in today's NBA. Cut the cameras and you'll agree.
They are softer. No need to cut.
Oh my God, I can't believe I said that out loud.
Can I get a selfie with this?
Yes!
Welcome back to Orlando City Stadium as the Orlando Pride gets set to take on the defending champs, the North Carolina Courage, as we take a look at this evening's lineups. For North Carolina, switching things around a little bit from what they're used to. And head coach Paul Riley talked about how he wanted a different look from his team coming into tonight, and this is what we're looking at this evening.
Only two changes here, Josh, but very significant changes. First, in goal, Samantha Leshnak getting her professional debut, stepping in for Caitlin Rowland, who has struggled a bit the last few weeks. And then, with the absence of Abby Urseg, you have Ryan Williams stepping in on that back line. So only two new starters, but two very significant new starters for the North Carolina Courage.
You're also looking at Mary Mathias moving up from that right back to that midfield position, and McCall Zerboni going up to the 10. Trying to create a little bit more offense is North Carolina. For Orlando Pride, they look the same as they did last week, just coming into tonight against North Carolina.
Same 11 as last week, but different positions. Putting Abby Alinsky up there as center forward, that's going to be a great thing to watch. Toni Presley finally getting back in the groove, starting several games in a row. I think her veteran presence is going to make a big difference. And as we mentioned in the pregame, Danny Weatherholt, she's got to be a leader. It's such a young team, but they've got so much talent.
They have so much talent. The question is, can they start putting some goals in the back of the net? That's really what they need to find this week. Just two so far on the season. As we take a look live at the teams as they are about to get ready for this Week 8 matchup. And what a matchup tonight as both teams try to find 3 points for the Orlando Pride. They're looking for their first 3 points of the season. Meanwhile, North Carolina trying to stop a skid that they've been on, 2 draws and 2 losses in their last 4 games.
And Orlando has not scored against North Carolina in a year, haven't beaten North Carolina since the end of the 2017 season. So it's a pretty big task ahead of them, but they are facing Orlando with a bulk of their international players going. Not all of them. Obviously, you know, you have the experience of Denise O'Sullivan, you know, Lynn Williams, McCall Zerboni there, but you got both teams kind of hungry for 3 points in a way we haven't seen before.
Paul Riley, 2-time Coach of the Year for the North Carolina Courage, and in his first season, Mark Skinner having his work cut out from this season. As we'll try to get a better look there. You can see him poke out, but Mark Skinner still looking for that first win for the Orlando Pride.
Yeah, making the transition coming over from the FA Women's Super League. It's a different world in NWSL, and I think he's having to think long game, as they just announced this week. They've signed Claire Emsley from the Scottish women's national team, also coming over. You know, she played at Man City, so she will join the Pride after her World Cup ends. But you know, you also have to think right now, no wins on the season, only 2 goals, both of them coming from center backs. You've got to see some offensive production, whether it's Rachel Hill, Chioma Bogugu, whoever needs to get that ball in the net.
Bogugu last year, 4 goals on the season. Another player that was left off the English roster. Maybe that will give her a little bit more motivation going forward and see if she can get things going offensively for the Pride.
And this time in the World Cup cycle is a huge opportunity for any player who's not on a World Cup team, whether they barely missed it or they've never been considered for the national team. There's players here who have opportunities to start and to play that normally wouldn't. So here's your chance to make an impact.
North Carolina in the white kits, Orlando in their purple and blues tonight here from Orlando City Stadium in Orlando, Florida, as we get set for the Pride and the Courage. We are underway here, Week 8. Again, all players now gone for the various national teams, so we'll see what happens going forward. No excuses anymore. Everyone on the roster will have to play a part. And tonight, that really kicks off for both these squads, as last week, Abby Urseg was with North Carolina. This week, not the case. You mentioned that at the top of who's going to replace her, who's also going to replace Abby Dahlkemper. Last 2 years, Defender Player of the Year in Dahlkemper in 17, and last year, Abby Urseg.
And we have to say, this is the first game ever since Paul O'Reilly took over Western New York Flash, which of course became North Carolina Courage, that neither Abby has been in the lineup. Abby Dahlkemper, of course, left to join the U.S. team in early May. Urseg played all the way through last weekend and is now with New Zealand. So it's Abby-less. This game is Abby-less, and what are they going to do?
Caro is going to push it forward, but no one there for North Carolina, trying to work it down that right side. You look at this Orlando team, they're also very young With North Carolina, they still have plenty of experience in Lynn Williams, Merritt Mathias, Denise O'Sullivan, McCall Zerboni, as we talked about earlier. They have veteran leadership out there. Can they take advantage of this young Orlando Pride squad?
And as we saw last time these teams met up, which was just the second fixture of the season for both of the teams, it was a 5-0 loss for Orlando on the road at Carolina. Very frustrating game. It was scoreless almost to the half, and I think Carolina got one just for the half, and then total breakdown in second half. Granted, very different lineup for both of these teams, different point in the season, but that's got to be something they're thinking about. And, you know, we also need to talk about, as they're going with this corner, to see Samantha Leshnak in goal, especially all 6'1", that's got to be a huge, huge thing for Carolina.
Bridget Callahan on the corner for the Pride. Loops one across, and that one's going to be headed wide. You talk about Leshnak, what she did at North Carolina at one point, 1,119 minutes without allowing a goal for the Tar Heels. She can produce, but that was college. This is professional soccer. The speed, the athleticism, the accuracy, that's going to change.
And here's that corner trying to flick it on, just a little bit wide of goal. Leshnak didn't have to do anything there, but Rachel Hill, one of the players who we've seen a lot of goals from her for Orlando, just not this season.
And North Carolina has struggled in goal as of late, so maybe Orlando just getting something on target will be enough to give them some confidence. Through ball, and Hamilton unable to get out there. Kottmeyer diving on top of that one. Haley Kottmeyer getting her 5th start of the season out of Troy, Michigan. Talk about Leshnak being 6'1", Kottmeyer 5'11", the 28-year-old. Greening near side. Links up with Hill. Hill in front of Hinkle, but Hinkle using that speed and then trying to bump Hill off. And that will come out for a throw. But Jaylene Hinkle just showing off that speed. Even when she's a little bit out of position, she has that closing ability, able to catch up with Rachel Hill on that one.
Yeah, one of the many players that can be overlooked. We're talking about national teamers, Jaylene Hinkle. She's been such a constant for this North Carolina team. You know, hasn't been really part of the national team pool in a couple of years, but to have a player of that experience on your flank, and she finally got her first assist of the season last week when Carolina had the late goal at Tacoma playing the rain.
Pruitt sends one across, that one towards the 6. That's going to go through the legs of Zerboni. Aaron Greening, the rookie out of CU. Walensky unable to beat Kaylee Kurtz there. Kaylee Kurtz having big shoes to fill, but at South Carolina, Defensive Player of the Year. Zerboni loses possession, Greening. Hill near side. Callahan pops that one out. And that'll be a throw for Orlando.
And Josh, we talk about how young these rosters are, but I think it's important to note for both of these teams, they both feature players who are technically in their second year in the league, but are only seeing minutes now. So they've had some time to adjust. You know, Ryan Williams picked up by North Carolina in last year's draft, training player for most of the year, you know, but now she's getting a chance to see minutes. And one of the things that made me so happy for this season of NWSL was to see roster sizes increase to, you know, minimum 20, and you can have
that one just over the bar by Hamilton. Head coach Paul Riley talked about what she did offensively, how he was impressed with her game last week, and near chance there for Kristen Hamilton. Kind of going off your point, you can talk about even Morgan Reed last year, just getting time in the International Champions Cup when she was with North Carolina.
And then, of course, Orlando trading with Carolina to get her rights. Oh, just over the bar. Not sure if Haley Kottmeyer would have been able to get a touch on that if it had been a little bit lower.
Good challenge for Kristen Hamilton there, just need to be on frame. Hill screening. There, Hamilton making her presence known defensively as well.
Hamilton's been with this franchise since it was in Rochester as the Western New York Flash. You know, one of those players who doesn't get as much minutes as I'm sure she would like when you're playing behind so many starting national teamers.
Roquero last week playing defensive midfield, back at the center back spot. Kurtz. Hinkle on the line. He'll back deep to help. That's one of the keys for North Carolina. They like to work it on the outside, whether it's Hinkle bombing forward or another fullback. Just they love to use that speed and try to lengthen the field.
And I think that's one of the ways that Seattle, rather the Reign, were able to shut them down last week. They really shut down those flanks. Kept Carolina almost scoreless the entire match. Abby Ursig able to get one back pretty late in the match thanks to an assist from Jaylene Hinkle.
Paul Riley not happy with his team's performance, especially in the first half. Thought they played better out in the second half, but still not enough to get the 3 points in Tacoma. For Orlando on the season, looking for their first win at home. They're 0-3-0 in Orlando City Stadium. North Carolina on the road, just 1 win and 2 losses. Both their losses away from Cary, North Carolina. Williams down the line. That one goes past Raboni, is pushed forward by Presley.
You talk about Carolina losses at home, rather they haven't had any this season. Last year, their only loss of the entire season was at home to Utah on a 94th minute goal. And I think it's easy for fans to forget that before last year, North Carolina, even though they won the regular season the year before, they did have 7 losses in 2017. So, you know, last year was amazing with just 1 loss in 24 regular season games and winning the final, the Shield, and the International Champions Cup. But we've always seen it. We've always said it. It's such a competitive league. Any team can beat any team on the day, and no one's streak is going to last forever. And I would never want to drink the Kool-Aid that Paul Riley is trying to sell us about his team being an underdog.
You look at what North Carolina did in April. 7 points for North Carolina in April, just 2 points in the month of May. But when they get the lead on teams, that is when they're able to put that pedal down to the ground and just run over people. That has not been the case this year, other than the 2 times in their win against this Orlando Pride team, as well as the Houston Dash.
Right, and I was even talking to well, let's look at this replay first. Matthias trying to get through those defenders, taken down. I think that maybe the foul on Alinsky. Matthias, such a tough player herself, though.
Weatherholt dispossessed by Williams. Left-footed shot, and that one's going to be stopped by Kottmeyer.
Kottmeyer, who has had to be the deputy goalkeeper for so many of her seasons, you know, playing behind Hope Solo for several seasons at Seattle before coming to Orlando, and she, you know, has kept stepping up when Ashlyn Harris has been gone on national team duty.
Presley. Obogagu. Goes over the top.
And I want to talk a little bit more about Leshnak. You'd mentioned her incredible shutout streak at Carolina. She also made 2 consecutive penalty kick saves against UCLA last fall to put North Carolina into the Final Four, into the College Cup.
Flag was up on Lynn Williams there.
So Matthias off the left foot, taking that shot, but it was right at Kottmeyer. That's a pretty easy stop right there. Good read, definitely had her eye on it. And way to sit back on that line.
Pickett. Carroll there, and she'll play that out past the touchline. Carson Pickett, another one of those veterans that Mark Skinner is going to lean on, as well as Chioma Obogagu. Vigiano lops one up, and that one's going to be taken. Leshnak looking to get things running the other direction. Hamilton. Hinkle. And Williams just not able to use that speed to get to that ball, as Morgan Reed will let that run out of play.
We haven't talked a lot yet about Lynn Williams. This is the stat that Neil Morris at Carolina figured out, one of the sports writers there, that she has scored more professional goals than any other American in the last 3 seasons. But she's been a little quiet this season. Part of that might be due to missing her normal strike partner, Jessica McDonald. But I think this is her chance to, like, you got to figure that out. Okay, that person's gone. How do I make scoring happen? And I think it's just the challenge for North Carolina of having some pieces gone, but not all pieces gone.
Maybe she'll have a chance right here. Cuts inside with the right, and that one blocked. Can she get back on it? No, that's going to be cleared up in the air by Tony Presley. And Williams on the year, 24 shots, 12 of those on goal, but just 3 goals from those 12 on target. Matthias. Rocaro outside of Williams. Second-year player. Sends one across, cleared away by Weatherholt. Kurtz. And he go offside on that. For Orlando and their 2 losses, or excuse me, for North Carolina on their 2 losses on the season, allowing 5 goals in those 2 games. They have scored in both those contests, but that's the thing. Other than those 2 wins, that's the only time they've scored multiple goals.
Well, that loss last weekend was very significant. Pretty sure that was their first ever loss to Seattle, to the Reign. Whereas the other loss was Chicago, who's one of the few NWSL clubs that has had North Carolina's number, except when it comes to playing in the semifinal. For whatever reason, Chicago's faced North Carolina twice in the semifinals, hasn't been able to get past.
Chicago and North Carolina had a 1-1 tie to start the season, and then Chicago won 3-1. But like you said, semifinals, though, is where it matters most, and that's where North Carolina has the Red Stars number.
And then I always find the Orlando-Carolina matchup pretty fascinating. It has some interesting history. And you mentioned this is the first time since May 2017 that Urseg hasn't lined up for the Courage, and that May 17 game that she missed was because she earned a red card playing against Orlando.
Pickett on the edge of the box.
And then there was the really crazy game here last May, a 4-3 game with North Carolina getting the game and getting the game winner in stoppage time. Crazy. But Orlando has not scored against North Carolina since then.
Hinkle. Back to Kurtz. Kurtz on the return pass. Zerboni. Flicked on, but right there is Aaron Greening. Greening going against Zerboni, and she's going to at least draw a whistle. Karen Greening started 52 of 74 games at CU. Getting her 4th start of the season. Orlando Pride still looking for their first win. Their last game they won was July 14th last year against Utah, 2-1. For Paul Riley and his North Carolina Courage team. April 28th was their last victory. That one coming against the Houston Dash.
And of course, Mark Skinner for Orlando just looking for his first NWSL win, first season in the league.
Hill. That one taken away by Hinkle and then played out. Last touch by Hinkle. Hamilton weaving through. See the aggressiveness here of Rachel Hill. She's played pretty deep as well in this game. Well into her own third.
We've seen that the last few games. She's definitely been tracking back to do a lot of defensive work.
Vigiano. Pickett coming up. That one just over the head. Hill on the end line, able to keep it in. Across. Oh, and that one just misses the foot of Abogugu. Williams. She'll send it down. And a little yank will draw the whistle.
Abogugu did get a call up to the U.S. Women's National Team fall 2017. Didn't make the game day roster for either of the 2 matches against Canada, and so kind of not seeing a future with the U.S. National Team. She ended up getting capped by England last year. Narrowly missed making the World Cup roster, but I'm sure we'll see her play for England again.
The one thing that all these various players talked about when talking about England is they knew what was expected from them going forward. Rachel Daly didn't have enough good things to say about Phil Neville as well as Jodie Taylor. And just they knew where they were in the process, but now this is a chance for Abogugu, and like a lot of other players, Casey Short comes to mind, McCall Zerboni, that this is another opportunity to prove themselves and still have themselves on the radar. Granted, it's not going to be for the World Cup this year, but still plenty of things coming forward as you can look forward towards the Olympics as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Olympics are right around the corner, and you don't want to think about that right now because, I mean, this is all World Cup time, but Olympics always come so quickly on the heels of a World Cup that there is an opportunity for someone to jump in. As we saw last cycle, Ali Long, who really didn't get a shot leading up to 2015, boom, she was called in for 2016 and ended up going to Rio with the U.S. Women's National Team.
Good job stepping in front was Denise O'Sullivan, trying to slide it through to Leah Pruitt, unable to do so. Which Paul Riley couldn't say enough good things about Denise O'Sullivan, her vision that she has and the way that she's able to help create for North Carolina, hoping that she brings more of that to the table this week.
Leah Pruitt making that run to get there, try to get around. Holding the arm, probably not the best idea.
Leah Pruitt, 1 goal on the season. The rookie out of the University of Southern California. She's the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year.
Paul Riley spoke so highly of her when we were prepping for the draft in January, and no surprise that ended up being his top pick.
She went number 5 overall in the draft. Presley. Weatherholt plays it back to Abogugu. Hill in the circle, can't maintain possession. Williams. Good play there by the veteran Tony Presley. Just did enough to get in front of that lane of that pass attempt. Vigiano. Pickett. Back to Vigiano at midfield. Morgan Reed with it outside the circle. Greening going forward. Kurtz. O'Carroll's going to be able to run that one down. Plenty of space to work with. You see the collision and the late whistle there. Kick coming for the Pride.
Just getting ahead on it, but kind of awkward angle. O'Sullivan coming flying in. Just an awkward meeting for both of them. O'Sullivan, the Irish international, she came over to NWSL in 2016, signed by the Dash. She had been playing at Glasgow City and excelling. She's been a revelation for North Carolina. You know, once the Dash weren't really playing her regularly, summer 2017, she said, hey, you know, I need to prep for World Cup qualifying with Ireland. I need to be playing. Can you go ahead and waive me? The team waives her. Paul Riley picks her up for the Courage, and she ends up, you know, becoming such a crucial part of their midfield, scoring the game winner in the semifinal against Chicago, and last year being voted team MVP.
That says something, especially when you have players like Abby Ersick, when you have Crystal Dunn, when you have Merritt Mathias, when you have McCall Zerboni. To get named by your peers team MVP, that's a huge honor.
And that you don't see a lot of goals and assists on her stat sheet, but the work she's doing in midfield is invaluable.
Sometimes it's the work that you don't see is that goes most appreciated. Pruitt trying to fight through, but Presley there to break that up. Chases it down. Zerboni in the 10 spot tonight. O'Sullivan steps inside, and that takedown by Weatherholt's going to be enough, and North Carolina with a great opportunity here on this set piece. The ref tonight is Eric Tattersall.
Sullivan coming through with that ball, cutting to her right. Easy takedown by Weatherholt with the arms. Easy call for Eric Tattersall to make. I don't know, would you call that a professional foul, where it's like I'd rather have her have a shot on goal from out here than closer in?
Probably a little bit. She was out of position, so she had to grab on as North Carolina was inching towards the box. See how they line up here. 5 players in the area of the ball. Just 2 setting up a wall for North Carolina. Mathias drops it off, plays it outside to Williams.
I was going to say, Josh, was anybody going to kick that ball? That was a very elaborate free kick setup.
Zerboni wins it back, but then gives it right away. Vigiano. Callahan moving forward. Linsky. Great play there by Kaylee Kurtz of getting in front of Linsky, knocking that ball out. Kaylee Kurtz in her second year out of South Carolina was teammates with Savannah McCaskill while in college. There you see Abby Alinsky on the ground. First year, started her career at Illinois before transferring to North Carolina. Linsky with her first start last week against Utah.
Linsky coming through 2 defenders. Wow, Kurtz just gets like a leg wrapped around, take her down. And then that free kick, 1, 2, 3 players running by before Matthias takes a kick, short kick, sending it out to Williams to try to get an attempt. Interesting tactic. And you were talking about Abby Alinsky, Josh. Well, let's watch this attack.
Williams. Pruitt chasing it down just outside the box. Settles. This is it across with the left. Callahan pops it over to Zaboni. Now Orlando looking to run the other direction. Vigiano at the center of the park. Can't toe poke that one past Matthias. O'Sullivan. Hinkle. Goes inside. O'Sullivan squeezes through 2 defenders, and that will draw the whistle. Just was able to get through Rachel Hill and Danny Weatherholt.
And just like we were talking about, Denise O'Sullivan doing the hard work and not getting on the score sheet. Calling for her team, trying to get through 2 defenders again and just getting caught, I think, on Rachel Hill's cleat. I mean, previous matchups between Orlando and North Carolina have definitely seen a lot of yellow cards, including a red card that I mentioned for Abby Urseg. Haven't seen any cards tonight, but you definitely see the intensity between these 2 teams.
Well, just 2 players setting up right now for the free kick, or maybe we'll just leave at 1 and Merritt Matthias, as opposed to the 5 that we saw last time. Sends one towards the back of the area, and that's going to go over everyone. No danger and a missed opportunity there for North Carolina. One other game going on right now in the NWSL. Washington Spirit with a 1-0 lead over the Utah Royals at half. Ashley Hatch with the goal. Ashley Hatch named to May's Team of the Month. Merritt Matthias from North Carolina also named to that team. Sam Kerr, Amy Rodriguez, Ashley Hatch were the forwards. Midfielders were Yuki Nagasato, Jordan DiBiase, and Vera Bouquet. And then defenders, Casey Short, Rachel Corsi, Sam Staub, and Merritt Matthias. A couple rookies on that May Team of the Month for Washington, and Staub and DiBiase. And then you had in net as well, Aubrey Bledsoe getting player of the, or excuse me, I should say goalkeeper award nod for Team of the Month. Sam Kerr was named Player of the Month for Chicago, 4 goals in the month of May.
Yeah, you could see the mix of some internationals were gone already with their teams, some not. I think the June Team of the Month is going to be even more interesting.
Hamilton not able to get quality touch on that one, but again, you can see how difficult she can be in the attacking third. You wonder if maybe this is the week that Lynn Williams finds someone else to link up with and start to get a better opportunity to get some goals and some points on the board.
Yeah, when you go back and look at her partnership with Jessica McDonald going back to 2016 when they were both at Western New York Flash, it's crazy to see how many times they've assisted each other on goals. But that being said, that's not the only way that she creates goals.
Greening does the smart move and just plays this one out.
Greening coming around. Nice slide to keep that ball out of play. Make the attacker jump over you.
O'Sullivan. Into the area, now out. Zerboni lost one in. Rocaro out to Williams.
You know, we've talked a lot about the players missing for Carolina, but you also need to talk about the players missing for Orlando. Not that they haven't been missing for a while, but it's a very different attack when, you know, I would say when the Brazilian flavor is missing.
Zerboni able to step inside. Shot, and that one. Kick save goes back to Zerboni. Great stop there by Kottmeyer.
What a great reaction save.
Matthias sends one, and that one is going to find its way into the stands. A great test there coming from Zerboni, and Kottmeyer was up for the challenge.
Zerboni getting through those two defenders, switching the ball to right foot. Nice shot on the ground, but great reaction from Haley Kottmeyer. Reads it well, keeps her body in front of it. Doesn't matter what piece of your body gets it away from goal, as long as it gets away from goal. But going back to the missing players, Josh, I feel like North Carolina, their style of play, how they play, how Paul Riley leads them, doesn't change with some of the players being gone for the World Cup, where I feel like
Hill in the area. And that one wide right.
And with Orlando missing Alex Morgan, Marta, you know, that they're having to find a different style of attack. And even before those players left, they weren't doing really well. But I think he's still defining who he is. And Rachel Hill, as we talked about earlier, it's like she's got to become that go-to scorer when Alex Morgan and Marta aren't there or aren't scoring. So it's good to see her get in on the attack there, but just a little wide.
Presley. Pickett in control. Just gives that right over to Matthias.
I feel like Carolina's settling in. They're finding their groove. We haven't really quite seen that yet from the Pride.
Misplaced pass there by McCall Zerboni. Got to take advantage of those opportunities when you have a chance like that. Plenty of time for Zerboni there, just played it out. Kurtz plays that out at the near touch line. Pigiano ready to go. Walensky. Callahan. And Walensky takes down Williams. Pickett. Bogogo doing a good job winning that one. Weatherholt. In the 36th minute, Josh Toll and Jen Cooper with you this evening. Score still 0-0. Both teams trying to find a tally here in the first half. For Orlando, they're looking for their first win of the season. North Carolina, meanwhile, looking for their third win of the year.
And they want to break this winless streak. They've gone 4 games without a win, Josh, longer than they ever have as North Carolina. Don't want it to extend to 5.
Hinkle. Into the area. That one just too far from that right foot for Kristen Hamilton. Orlando there without their leading goal scorer and Crystal Dunn. Lynn Williams right behind her though with 3. And then you have 6 other players all with 1 goal for North Carolina.
And I
Orlando just
really feel like the biggest missing piece for North Carolina, the biggest challenge to overcome when she's gone, is Crystal Dunn. We look at the difference between Carolina in 2017 and 2018. 7 losses going to 1 loss. To me, if you have to, give a one-name answer, it's Crystal Dunn.
Hinckley. Hinkle loses it. Plays it back to Hill. Greeny. Walensky.
Great fight by Rachel Hill to gain possession. But I think this shows you some of the struggles of Orlando, that Hill, really should have the opportunity to be further forward and have someone feeding her the ball. She's not going to be able to score if she's constantly tracking back to do the dirty work.
Williams able to clear that one away from danger. Gets it right back. Presley. That one over the head of Hill. Hinkle. Nearly dispossessed by Hill. Zerboni can't get her foot on that. Pruitt, the rookie, fighting through. Pruitt stepping inside.
We really see Weatherholt trying to win that middle.
Williams. O'Sullivan. Zerboni. Hill coming up from behind. Zerboni towards the box. Good job there by Morgan Reed stepping in front of McCall Zerboni. Morgan Reed last year with North Carolina Courage came over for a 4th round pick to Orlando. A large reason behind that, knowing that players would be leaving for national duty. Wanted to strengthen that back line a little bit. So far, a relatively quiet night for the rookie goalkeeper.
We've seen a lot of rookie keepers step up the last few years. Kaylin Sheridan in 2017, Emily Boyd last year, who's now holding down the fort in Chicago while Alyssa Nair is out for the World Cup.
Vigiano wanted a whistle there on Williams, not going to get it. Right back to Kottmeyer.
Orlando living dangerously.
It's going to go out of play. Last touch by North Carolina. Not the best pass there by Kottmeyer back to Greening. But Greening doing enough to at least win a throw-in off Hamilton. Crowd wanting a handball, and then we will have the whistle for it.
Skinner getting off the bench, going all the way to the touchline to give instructions after his assistant got up to yell.
Skinner in his first year with Orlando, 2nd coach ever for the Orlando Pride.
Long throw, and it seemed like it fell on Lynn Williams' hand. That was strange.
32nd minute. Still scoreless here at Orlando City Stadium. Final weekend before the World Cup break for both these two teams, for all teams, I should say. Sky Blue, though, does have the bye week this week.
Interesting to see Josh, referee, going over to tell Rachel Hill stop. But I wonder at what point, you know, do you pull that yellow?
You can only warn a player so many times before it's going to draw that yellow card.
The last time these teams met, they had 3 yellows between them. None so far for this game.
For North Carolina, even with their struggles, tied for first in scoring with 13 goals, along with Chicago and Portland. But on the year, they have conceded 8 goals. Orlando just 2 goals, but they've conceded 15.
Now we know Orlando's going to go into the half feeling pretty good if they've kept it scoreless. Hopefully they're not thinking about that game in mid-April where, you know, it was pretty good at halftime and then completely collapsed second half. I don't think we're going to see that. But you can't go, okay, well we got by them 45 minutes. It's a 90-minute game.
Hill on the edge, cutting towards the center. One play behind Obogagu, and Williams will chase it down.
And these benches aren't as deep as they are the rest of the year.
Well, for some teams too, you look at when they do have to go to the bench now, just getting a lot more inexperience out there and how that can play a factor.
Well, that's why I was talking earlier about I'm so happy about the supplemental spots.
Hinkle into the area. Hamilton, who's got that can be last touched by, and they're going to say corner kick for North Carolina.
I think it's our first corner of the match, Josh. Left foot from Hinkle, her usual left, but Hamilton can't quite get there to finish it off. But when Hinkle provides an assist, it's usually like that, kind of sneaky ball long up the flank. Hard to read with that left foot.
North Carolina with a chance here late in the first half. Hinkle sends one across. That ball still loose and then popped away. And now finally cleared out of the box. Lucero to Hinkle. Hinkle sends one back. Kottmeyer off the crossbar. Headed back, headed up in the air. Williams trying to get to it. And then Reed plays it out for a corner. That ball was popping off different heads.
What a series by North Carolina. I like Hinkle. Hey, if I'm, I keep floating it in and they're not doing anything with it, I'll take a shot myself. She hits the bar. I love Kaylee Kottmeyer's reaction save with that close shot on goal.
1 minute stoppage time added on here, the first. And last week we saw North Carolina go this short corner quite a bit to Hinkle, and they are going to continue that trend. Lucero, she sends it in. And that one drifts wide right.
Ball coming through. Someone gets a tap on it. Hard to see. Falls to Pickett. Wow, is that Pruitt kicking it through Pickett's legs? But Kottmeyer, great reaction save to keep that out of the net.
Hinkle forward, and that one over the head of Hamilton. They've been close a couple times to linking up, just nothing to show for it. And smothering it will be Kottmeyer. And there will be the final whistle of the first half. Jen, your thoughts on what we saw here between Orlando and North Carolina the first 45 minutes?
Orlando has to get more organized. We finally saw North Carolina settle in. Orlando doesn't seem to be settling in. They have, however, kept North Carolina off the board, and it's been a while since they've been able to go through a first half with keeping their opponent scoreless. So at least they've got something to move forward on.
And you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. They did a good job for 45 minutes. The question is, can they come out and do it for an additional 45? That has been a problem this year for the Pride. They will have their work cut out for them with this depleted North Carolina squad, but still plenty of players that can score for North Carolina. The question for Orlando is, who's also going to step up for them on the attacking end and make an influence tonight? But right now, heading into half, we are scoreless with Orlando and North Carolina. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Orlando, Florida. We are scoreless at half between the Orlando Pride and the North Carolina Courage here in the month of June, as we'll take a look back at the highlights through the month of May in NWSL action. Take a look back and enjoy. Oh, what a stop!
Carson Pickett crosses it, a header, a goal for Orlando! Twice sent away, and she is fired up. So are these fans. How in the world did Kottmeyer save not once but twice?
Daly shot, and Daly scores. Daly's second of the afternoon, and she now has a brace. What a stop by Britt Eckerstrom.
Nagasato into Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr! It falls!
Kerr trying to make it two, and Kerr will find the roof of the net, and she now has two tonight. A brace last week and a brace today. it to her right, shoots to the back post. Oh my, oh hi! What a goal! Welcome back to Orlando. Scoreless here at halftime. Pride 0, North Carolina Courage 0. But 45 minutes remains. See if one of these two teams can find that first and all-important tally. They both have their work cut out for them. But when we return from break, still plenty more to show you. We'll have highlights and stats for you from Orlando City Stadium. Welcome back to Orlando City Stadium. Orlando Pride 0, North Carolina Courage 0. It was a tight one in the first half. Not too many chances for either team, so they definitely have their work cut out for them in the second half, as we'll go back and look at the first half highlights between these two, as this one is sent into the box and that one just goes over the head of Rachel Hill and goes out of play. Then this one sent across. Good dummy ball, and then Hamilton raises it over the crossbar. Matthias would have an opportunity, but right on Kottmeyer there. Easy stop for the keeper. Orlando would send this one across, and then just too far for a Bogagoo, and Williams would clear it out of the way for North Carolina. Green doing a good job hustling back and tackling and sliding through that ball and playing it out. But here, Hill has a chance just to the right of the frame. We've been talking about her being more aggressive, seeing that Hinkle's cross here, and this one would be popped around. Looked like Pruitt was able to get that one through, but Kottmeyer with great reflexes, able to pop that one away from the goal line and make sure that nothing gets by her. And that is where we stand here, 0-0 at halftime from Orlando, Florida, as we take a look at the match stats. Here you take a look, North Carolina do what they do best, putting shots on. Just 3, though, on target. They're always in double digits in terms of shots, but they have yet to find the back of the net. Orlando just with 2 shots, still trying to get one on target. But one thing that's really standing out right now, the possession for North Carolina compared to Orlando.
Especially as we saw North Carolina get really comfortable, I'd say maybe about 25th minute in. And even when they're only, they're in 6th, 7th place right now, they still have scored 13 goals on the season. They still shoot and have more goals on target than anybody else. So you keep shooting, one of them's going to go in. But we also have to look at Orlando, first time this season that they went the first half without conceding a goal.
Now, what do they do the second half? That is the biggest question for the Orlando Pride. So many times this year we've talked about how much of a game can they put together. We've seen it now a couple times where they put together a solid 45 minutes. Now, can they continue to do that for the full 90, especially when you're going against the defending champs, North Carolina? As we talked about, they like to put shots on. The question is their quantity sometimes enough? Because they don't always get the quality that they need behind them.
And neither team is going to be happy with a draw for this game, Josh. They both need a win. They both want to win. Carolina, of course, to end their streak, get back in their groove. Orlando, they've got 1 point on the season. They've been working so hard. You can see the incremental improvement that's there each week, but they've got to take it all 90 minutes and find out how to score. I think defensively, they've been working cohesively. We've seen some great performances from Haley Kottmeyer, but if you can't score at the other end of the field, you're not going to get that win.
We've talked about it, not just for this team, but for other teams as well. When you have these international players gone, who's going to step up and take advantage of their opportunity? And that's what we're looking at tonight for both squads, but especially for Orlando with such a young team. You're looking at Marissa Vigiano in her first season. You're looking at Bridget Callahan in her second season. Abby Alinsky also in her second season.
But even Bridget Callahan and Abby Alinsky, you can say it's their first season. They didn't really see minutes last year. Sure, they were training players, but this is not only regular minutes, this is starting and in some cases playing the full 90. So I wouldn't call it a second season. It's weird to call it a rookie season. So it's somewhere in between, but it's not like they played all the games last year and now they're doing it again.
It's such a valid point when you talk about what they do on the practice field to what they do on the game day pitch. Sometimes those lights become too bright for some players, and that's where you see people either shy away or make it an advancement.
And there's really no substitute for playing 90 minutes in game conditions, being match fit, and the intensity that comes with playing against a team as opposed to playing against your teammates in practice.
You can scrimmage all you want. It just does not get you the same results. You have to be consistent on the practice field as well as on the game field come game day. North Carolina currently sitting in the 7th spot with 9 points. Orlando, like you said, in that final spot with just 1 point. If they're able to find a win, they'll leapfrog over Sky Blue, who is off this week. Utah is in the top of the table as that one's headed away. And then right behind them is Washington. Washington right now taking on Utah. That game 2-0 in favor of the Spirit.
So unless something changes, Washington will be on the top of the table all by themselves. Right now, Utah and Washington were tied going into this game on points. So you could say, all right, it's, tied at the top of the table. But now Washington's looking to jump ahead. 3 points puts them at 16 points. Carolina, they sneak out a win. They jump up to 13 points, which at least for today would put them in 3rd place.
And we also talked about it earlier, what North Carolina did in the month of April, 7 points, and then 2 points in the month of May. For the Washington Spirit, 3 points in April, then 10 points in the month of May. So you can turn things around. It's just a matter of, again, being consistent and playing week in and week out with the same intensity.
Yeah, let me correct myself. If they get 3 points, they'll be with 12 points. They'll still be in 3rd place. Of course, Chicago, Portland play tomorrow and could catch them. But this early in the season, it's still pretty close, points-wise for most of the teams.
Just to round out the standings, Portland in that 3rd spot with 11 points. Chicago right behind them, 4th. Then you have Houston Dash in that 5th spot. Reign FC in the 6th spot with 9 points. Then North Carolina, the Sky Blue at 8, and Orlando at 9.
Orlando gets the win. They leapfrog Sky Blue. If it's a tie, they just end up matching Sky Blue on points.
And like you said, neither of these teams are going to be happy with settling for just 1 point. They want to go into that World Cup break on a high note, getting that 3 points if they're able to do so. For North Carolina, looking for their first win since last July. That one coming against Utah Royals FC. Meanwhile, North Carolina, it seems like it's been a long time, 5 weeks. Their last win coming in April on the 28th against the Houston Dash.
And we should mention when we're talking about the standings that with 9 teams, that means everybody's got to bye, at some point. So you don't have everybody with the same number of games played until you get to the end of the season. So Orlando has already played, after tonight, 1 more game than every other team. So it kind of puts the pressure on them even more that there's not a lot of games to end up catching up on points.
Callahan just cannot get that pass from Vigiano. Just a couple that have been just out of the area. A little bit too much weight on some of these passes. But Orlando coming out, being a little bit more aggressive here in the second half. That's one sent towards the box, and that's going to go over everyone. Sam Leshnak has yet to be challenged. The rookie out of North Carolina.
And if it's your first professional goal as a goalkeeper, that's not a bad position to be in. Not challenged very much.
And the big issues as of late for North Carolina has been the goals that have been allowed in as they look to change some things around. Different players playing in some spots that normally they wouldn't be in, just trying to create and get some new opportunities to find some goals. That one's going to find Hill, and Hill nearly roofed that one, but went wide.
So great to see Rachel Hill get up there, get a shot on goal. She's getting up slowly, though. Ubogugu getting it over there. Leshnak coming out, Hill getting there first. Now, I do feel like Leshnak made herself big, got wide, got her arms up, and that's the kind of thing that'll make a striker send it a little high, a little bit wide.
Saw Hill go wide with a shot earlier in the first half. That one, better look there for Rachel Hill, but same result, finding its way past the end line and up in the stands. Sullivan in the circle. You should say O'Sullivan. Pruitt. for it is Ryan Williams. Sends it into the area. That one headed out. Walensky chasing it down. Walensky with O'Sullivan on her. Gets bumped. O'Sullivan just doing a good job right there. Letting Walensky overplay that and then stepping in front and shielding Walensky away from the ball.
Other big news for Orlando this week, Josh. The club announced that they will be renovating Sylvan Lake Park. It will become the exclusive training facility for Orlando Pride. So they'll be the first club in NWSL that has their own facility just for the women's side of the club. We have seen, some of the MLS teams, they share a training facility. This will be, Sylvan Lake Park will be just for the Pride.
Just seeing the advancement that Orlando's making in NWSL, gearing their training facility just towards the Orlando Pride.
Well, it's a separate training facility. Obviously, they're not getting rid of the men's facility, but that
they'll have their own pitch that they can go to, and they don't have to worry
having
about
a dedicated pitch for just the women's team is a huge step forward. I think in this World Cup year, we're just going to see a lot of announcements like that. We've already seen it on the European side, somewhat in Mexico with Liga MX and other areas where you make that investment and that investment starts paying off. The FA and the Women's League in England, where Bogagu used to play, and we've seen, and of course Mark Skinner was coaching. What they did last season, they gave each club, they said, pick one game, and we will help you do extra marketing for that one game. And each club saw, on average, a 25% increase at the gate. So,
huge difference.
When you invest,
people come out.
People come out. Yeah, don't push my rant button because I could start ranting, and we don't want to miss the game action.
I heard a couple of your rants before the game.
Yeah, that's what my podcast is for.
And we will have our first yellow card. This one given out to O'Sullivan. A couple times earlier in the first half, I thought a couple various players would get a yellow card. None were given. This one, first of the evening.
And she was on the other end of a lot of fouls in the first half.
I think maybe some people thought maybe Danny Weatherholt one
that's
of those first people that got a yellow card.
That's just kind of a push from behind, yeah. And when we've seen the ref, in the first half keep saying enough, at a certain point you have to pull that card.
Vigiano playing it down the line, but that one curls out.
And that's Denise's second yellow of the season. It's interesting to note for NWSL, if you accumulate 5 in the same season, you have to sit out a game. And unlike MLS, there's no good behavior discount where if you go a certain number of games without a yellow, they take one away from your accumulation.
Walensky. O'Carroll.
We haven't seen any subs, Josh. I'm wondering, is this going to go later before their subs, given that, both of these teams signed national team replacement players as the World Cup players left.
Bogagu was trying to maybe win herself a corner there off Mathias, or just trying to pop the ball by Mathias, but unfortunately for her, plays it out for a goal kick.
And then it's easy for us to forget, Josh, Heather O'Reilly is sitting on the bench for North Carolina. World Cup champion, Olympic champion.
Just 231
NWSL
caps.
champion, WPS champion, let's see, NCAA, W League, I think I got them all. Maybe something over when she was playing with Arsenal. No, but get this, she leaves after this game to go work the Women's World Cup. She'll be part of the studio team for Fox in Paris. So we all want to sneak into her suitcase so we can go to Paris too.
Vigiano from Pickett. Lofts one in and cleared away. Hamilton gives it right over to Pickett. And then Pickett with an arm ball. And she's trying to explain that she doesn't have a hand.
I don't have an arm. I mean.
And then we're going to get a yellow card. Is this going to go against a Bogagoo? If it does, I believe that's her second in back-to-back weeks.
I wonder if she was defending Pickett. She was yelling too. You can't give her a handball when she doesn't have a hand. I've always liked Pickett's attitude. One of the first articles I read about her, she talked about, she goes, well, so I can't take throw-ins, but other than that, there's nothing holding me back in soccer.
For North Carolina on the season, on the road, 1-2-0. Orlando Pride at home, still looking for that first win. 0-3, no draws. On the year, Orlando Pride 0-6-1. North Carolina 2 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws for 9 points. Misplayed there by Orlando's Greening. Trying to go over the top for Williams, and Williams is not going to be able to beat Presley to it, but she might beat her off the ball. She does, wins it back for North Carolina. Good job there by Lynn Williams. Ryan Williams now with a throw for the Courage.
See the subs warming up. Elizabeth Eddy, Heather O'Reilly. I think we'd see 1 or 2 come in pretty soon just to keep up North Carolina's high press, relentless attack style.
You look at what North Carolina did in terms of scoring goals last year, obviously NWSL record, 53 goals, and then this year still they are scoring. They have 13 on the year, just in a dry spell as of late. You have to go back to that Houston Dash game where the last time they unleashed for 4 goals in that game, but other than that, just 1 goal in pretty much each game since, as Hamilton plays it to Pruitt, and she'll let that go all the way through. Hinkle able to get by Greening. Hinkle, that one played out. Last touch by Rachel Hill, a corner coming for North Carolina.
When you talk about those 13 goals, Josh, we have to note that, well, 9 of them came in 2 games. The 5-0 win against Orlando, the 4-1 win against the Dash, and that game against the Dash was the last match that they had Crystal Dunn, who we talked about, of course, Abby Dahlkemper, Samantha Mewis, Jessica McDonald. So, you know, it's not too strange that you have that.
And there's going to be the first goal of the evening from Kristen Hamilton.
Sorry that I had my rant button on. That was great.
But Hamilton, last couple weeks, she has been excellent on the attack. This time, she's finally rewarded for it, getting North Carolina Courage on the board here in the 58th minute.
And something out of nothing. A nice cross in. Kottmeyer's there. You think that's totally, you know, that totally should have been saved. So smart of Hamilton to pressure that, be right there to follow up. That's an easy finish when the keepers bobbled it.
She was able to get the rebound and able to put it by. And now North Carolina with that lead, and this is where they're so dangerous when they get that first goal, their ability to continue to attack and to continue to put pressure on that back line. How does Orlando respond now as they trail by 1? Olinsky. She'll at least win the Pride a corner.
Yeah, the 2 wins for the Courage this season, both of those were when they scored first. And what we haven't seen from Orlando is their ability to respond after being scored on. The 2 goals that Orlando has scored the entire season were both the first goals of the game, pretty early in the game, and then they gave up goals.
Callahan sends it across. Leshnak making sure that no one can get that one. And just a goal that Hamilton Price shouldn't have had. Kottmeyer should have been able to smother that one up, but sometimes that's just not the case. And Hamilton and the North Carolina Courage able to get the first goal of the evening.
Well, and she made sure she was in the right place so that when the right time came along, she could connect. Because if she's not pushing up, if she's not making that run, thinking, oh, the shot was made, she's not going to get that goal.
Williams getting a shot.
Nice clearance by Kottmeyer. Another corner. This could be dangerous.
Denise O'Sullivan over for the corner. Try that again. And we will not try that again. This will be given over to Orlando. For the Orlando Pride, they've seen this happen at different times throughout the year, having to play from behind. But never have they really given themselves a chance to get themselves back in it. And that's another area that you want to see in terms of growth from the Pride, is how they continue to fight and try to find that equalizer, as they'll have to do so for the remainder of this one here, about the next 28 minutes or so. Almost given away by Reed.
And it's one thing to say, oh, we got to equalize and, you know, ideally get a game winner. But when you've only scored twice all season and both of those goals have come from center backs. And the last time that Orlando came from behind to win a game was the last time they won, at least on the road, was that July game at Utah. Utah went up and Orlando was able to come back off a Morgan penalty kick, and then Kristen Edmonds scored a goal.
Rocaro to Ryan Williams.
And I feel like the way that Riley coaches Orlando, they're never going to fall into that, well, we're up a goal, so we sit back. They never stop.
And here, looking to continue forward is Hinkle. Sends it into the area, and that one's scooped up by Kottmeyer. Callahan battling with Matthias, and Matthias plays it back. Pruitt, first-year player out of USC. A go, and that one's going to rise well above and find its way into the supporters section. 64th minute. Our score here, North Carolina 1, Orlando 0. The lone goal coming from Kristen Hamilton. But right now in stoppage time, Washington Spirit up 2-0 over the Utah Royals. And Washington Spirit, you can talk about them being the surprise club so far this year of the NWSL season. Right now, second in the standings, right behind Utah.
I wouldn't say right now second in the standings. I would say any second now. There it is, full time on our computer. Right out, they are #1 in the standings. They haven't been at the top of the table since towards the end of the 2016 season. So this is huge, not only for first-year coach Richie Burke, but a very young roster that includes, what, it was 4 players from the Spirit on the team of the month. You know, Aubrey Bledsoe, who's been having a wonderful season so far. And I think what's really impressive is the number of young players on that team, true first year, right out of college, and that they've been able to play cohesively, and what he's been able to pull off. So 2-0 win over Utah.
Well, you look at Staub being named to Team of the Month for May, rookie. You look at Jordan DiBiase, Team of the Month, another rookie. The only veteran experience on that back line for Washington at times this year has been Tori Huster.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because she recently passed the 10,000 minute mark, and we failed to mention in the first half of this game that Merritt Mathias is now the 8th player in the history of NWSL to play more than 10,000 regular season minutes. So way to go, Merritt Mathias.
Hamilton
got
squeezing
10,000
through,
more.
looking for a second, and she's going to find it right there. Kristen Hamilton does it again for North Carolina.
Just like we were talking about, they do not stop. Great work by Pruitt on the outside to get it through to Hamilton. Turns, beats both defenders, and gets that rocket off to the upper corner. Nothing Kottmeyer's going to be able to do about that.
So
2-0.
You look back at Kristen Hamilton, 2 goals tonight. In her debut, she scored 2 goals. So Kristen Hamilton matching that mark. And now North Carolina Courage up 2-0 here in the 67th minute. So things get even more difficult for Orlando Pride.
And, I hate to say it, but it is a little similar to what we saw in the Orlando-Carolina matchup in April, which was at Carolina, where once they started to wear them down, the goals just kept coming.
Meredith Speck will come on for North Carolina, and off will go Leah Pruitt. Meredith Speck in her 4th year out of Yale, the first player ever from Yale to play in the NWSL. Leah Pruitt off, the rookie from USC, Speck on. Speck out of Rockville Center, New York. 5'3", 26-year-old. For North Carolina, you look at the wins they've had this year, you look at the 2 of them, but both of them, multiple goals in those games. At least here for 2019, that seems to be the recipe for success, excuse me.
Speck coming in, she's one of the players who followed this club from Western New York, playing up in Rochester, to stay with the team when they went to North Carolina Courage. See some minutes every season, is rarely breaking into that starting lineup unless the international players are gone, but clearly someone reliable who, Paul Riley thinks highly of. A lot of these sub players for Carolina could probably start on some other teams.
For Bogagoo. Working on Mathias. That one will be played off Mathias and out for a corner. Orlando looking for their first goal of the game. Callahan lines up. Inward swinging ball. Callahan on the pass. Sets up, sends it in. And Williams now moving forward for North Carolina.
It just seems a little disjointed, Josh. It's like they're fighting hard, earning that corner, getting some attacks, but the pieces of the puzzle aren't all working together.
O'Sullivan. Zerboni, back to O'Sullivan. Rocaro. Ryan Williams. Trying to find Hamilton. Hamilton with both goals for North Carolina. Joanna Boyles will come on for Orlando, and off will go Marissa Vigiano.
Substitution for Orlando Pride in the 71st minute. Leading the game is number 23, Marissa Migliano. She's replaced number 25.
And these subs are going to be crucial for Orlando. Can they break Carolina's rhythm?
Danica Evans also in, making her second appearance of the season.
We've seen so little of Danica this season. And she was one of the players from the inaugural season of the team, and she actually scored the first ever NWSL goal scored in this stadium. It's a 1-1 draw against Washington Spirit back in 2017.
And now Evans and Boyles have their work cut out for them this evening for Orlando Pride to try to get that first tally on the board to allow themselves a chance at getting an equalizer down the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, also substituting
North Carolina, throughout these last couple years, so good when they get the lead of maintaining that and continuing to put pressure on their opponents. We've seen that so far this evening against Orlando after they got their first goal.
Well,
Kick it.
and I wonder, Josh, even if, well, like, what's she gonna do with that ball? Even if Orlando's not thinking, you know, a win is in reach, or they may be thinking, God, if we just get a goal just to get that scoring groove going.
Sometimes that's all it takes is seeing a ball go in the back of the net.
You know, you're almost through 8 games at this point, only scored 2 goals on the season. That's got to change.
It has to change for sure. For Orlando now on the season, they've allowed 17 goals to just the 2 they've scored, and North Carolina Courage now with 15 goals on the year.
Leshnak looking to earn a shutout in her professional debut.
21 shutouts at North Carolina. And we mentioned that 1,119-minute streak she had with the Tar Heels. Looking to start a new streak here of 90 minutes with North Carolina. Williams. Turned over. Unable to win that ball, that was Zelensky. Matthias. Matthias working her way towards the end line. Cuts one across. Hamilton. Plays it outside. Now we'll go out for a goal kick.
Carolina calm and composed, just working it around.
Calls Zerboni on the ground for North Carolina. In the 74th minute are 2 goals, both from Kristen Hamilton, the first in the 59th minute, the second one in the 66th minute. That second one assisted by Leah Pruitt. For Leah Pruitt, her night is done. Meredith Speck on.
And the trainer's calling for a sub. I'm wondering if it's her elbow is bothering her. You know, she took a very strange fall last September playing against Chile. Hurt her elbow, had to have surgery, missed the rest of the season. Has come back incredibly fit, but that elbow is still bothering her. Probably a big reason that she wasn't ultimately named to the U.S. Women's National Team roster, which many of us expected that she would be.
Many people did think that McCall Zerboni would make it. The 32-year-old, you're looking at just her career and how she got to this point. A lot of time working her way to that spot.
Play every season in WPS and then play every season in NWSL for multiple clubs. You know, she's been all over the map. And we've seen, we saw the really salty speech that she gave. That's the best I can say before one of the U.S. games. Yeah, that she you could see what she could bring even off the bench to the U.S. Women's National Team. So it's a shame she didn't get a chance to head to the World Cup. And now Elizabeth Eddy coming in for North Carolina, another one of those players who's been with this club for a while, always in the fringes, but clearly someone that Paul Riley believes in, you know, so that player is more willing to stick around and play for whatever minutes she can get.
And then coming well off her line was Leshnak to make sure that Rachel Hill had no chance at getting that one.
Danica Evans actually making a good push there. Or am I reading that wrong?
But Leshnak seeing the confidence there coming off the line, sure of herself and what she wanted to do. And that's a big thing.
That's great. That's great, Azaric. No question on that decision making, because you can't hesitate as a keeper. You can't be caught in no man's land. You have to go out or stay home. You can't be in the middle.
That's what head coach Paul Riley wanted from all his players, just better decision making. Because here you get another.
Yeah, you're right. It is Hill. Nice chip over, and the timing was almost perfect. But oh, so brave of Leshnak. Get out there, throw her whole body, and get her hands on it. Sorry, Rachel Hill, you're not getting a touch on that ball.
Boyles making that pass over to Rachel Hill, but Leshnak, the first-year player, able to get to that ball before Rachel Hill could. Rachel Hill's had some chances tonight, just unable to find the back for a goal.
And great to see her getting deeper so that she's not stuck running back playing defense, but that she is having those opportunities where that was just the, you know, what, a half-second timing difference?
Evans. That one played off Lynn Williams.
And I do want to mention Elizabeth Eddy, who came on for North Carolina. She scored a goal, actually the equalizer, 2 weeks ago for North Carolina in their 1-1 draw against Utah. It was her first goal since the 2016 season.
Orlando will have another chance on this throw-in. Weatherholt. They're going to say goal kick. I'm a little surprised by that, but goal kick it is. Weatherholt also felt that one went off North Carolina and out of play. Looks like that one might have actually hit off Weatherholt's shin on the end of that. Boyles looking to run. This will find its way out. Callahan with the throw-in.
Callahan out of Central Florida, where she was coached by Tiffany Roberts Sahidek. Tiffany Roberts, a member of that 1999 Women's World Cup team. Also the youngest member on the 1996 Olympic team that won gold.
Hamilton almost with another opportunity there. That one just a little bit too much weight on that pass for Hamilton to get to, but she was looking for her third goal.
That would have been amazing, a Kristen Hamilton hat trick.
Hinkle, great look,
And just like we saw in the first half, Josh, Hinkle threading it from the flank. And the timing of that run, I mean, Hamilton was almost there.
And Hinkle is such a weapon in what she can do, both on the defensive end and offensive end. Just one of those players where you got to be aware of where she is.
Especially with the natural left foot, that's, you know, I think a lot of times you default to reading what people are going to do with their right foot. And to have a left footer on the left flank who can thread a ball like that.
She does have 2 assists already on the season, does Jaylene Hinkle. Eddy Trying to switch the point of attack, does so. Here's Hinkle once again, trying to cross it. That one was intended for Lynn Williams, but Tony Presley using that tall body of hers to head it out. But corner kick coming now for North Carolina.
Great defensive header. Presley, one of the few players in this match that's from the 2016 Orlando Pride squad.
Outward swinging ball. Knocked up into the air. And we'll have a whistle against Kristen Hamilton. The ball tonight finding Kristen Hamilton, almost like she's a magnet for that ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, substitution for Orlando.
2 goals for Kristen Hamilton as we'll have our final sub for Orlando. Caitlin Farrell will come in and Bridget Callahan out.
Caitlin Farrell, her second appearance in NWSL. She went undrafted, but got picked up by Orlando and actually finished up her studies at Georgetown before joining the team. So that's why she's just seen her first minutes now. And then, of course, we talked about her earlier, Heather O'Reilly, legendary Heather O'Reilly coming in to close down the match. I don't think you could ask for a better closer than Heather O'Reilly, champion on so many levels. And, you know, she's talked about this is her last professional season, but of course, I'm sure she's more focused on this game right now. And after this, she's heading off to France to be part of the Fox crew for the Women's World Cup in Paris.
O'Reilly in, Ryan Williams out. For Heather O'Reilly, what can you say about her career? We talked about it a little bit earlier, how she's won just about everywhere she has played. And now trying to help North Carolina once again. You go back to the International Champions Cup, which North Carolina will be hosting this year, but she had the game winner against Lyon. Lyon will be there as well as Atletico Madrid. So just another exciting time. Manchester City being the 4th team in that one as it makes its way to Cary, North Carolina. That will start up mid-August.
I'm so glad to see a team from the Spanish league getting in there. Last year they had 2 teams from France, of course PSG being the other one. And North Carolina will also host the Women's College Cup this year. Or did they just host it last? I can't remember. Now I'm getting confused, but they tend to host it every other year at Wake Med Park in Cary, North Carolina. So if they don't host it this year, they'll host it next year. And speaking of hosting finals, I mean, I know it upsets some people to think about a final in North Carolina, but my question is, when are we going to know when the final is going to be? Is it, whether it's Carolina, Utah, Tacoma, Portland, wherever? I want to know where the final's going to be.
When and where people are ready to book those tickets.
Well, we know the when. We know it's Saturday, October 26th. We've got this, the schedule of the season all mapped out. We know it's a predetermined venue for the final, and we know the semifinals are hosted by number 1 and 2 seeds. But where is that final? It's such a great weekend that should be celebrated and so much added to it.
So many different groups put on great events that you can go to. Is that one sent in? Boyle's on the outside. I should say that was Speck. And that one's going to be a goal for North Carolina. And Kristen Hamilton with a hat trick.
That's her first career hat trick. I don't even have to look that up. I know that off the top of my head. Just the second hat trick we've had this season. Of course, Christine Sinclair having the other one.
Kristen Hamilton out of DU with her first career hat trick.
And again, that ball coming from Hinkle, Josh. And I don't know if you call that a volley, a hop volley, but great timing. That's teamwork, that's cohesion, where she knew how that ball would be coming and she knew how to finish it.
Hamilton in the 85th minute with her 3rd goal of the night. Hat trick for Kristen Hamilton. and just continue to show that she's going to be a player now that's going to have a major impact for North Carolina, as now teams will look to defend her a little bit differently with the success that she's had these past couple games. Last week she was close a couple times. This week she's made sure 3 times.
Well, and she's always been known as one of the the super subs from Carolina, but it just shows you how deep Carolina's roster is, that you have a player able to perform on that level, when the starters are gone. So coming into this match, she had 6 career NWSL goals. Josh, now she has 9.
3 tonight. What a game for Kristen Hamilton. Pickett pushing the pace. Alinsky. There's Speck to help usher that ball out.
You got to love the dedication of the Orlando fans. It's their team. They're not going to stop supporting their team.
Delivery. Weatherholt trying to chase it down. North Carolina here in the 87th minute with 3 goals, all from Kristen Hamilton. 16 now on the season. Weatherholt. Set piece coming for Orlando. Just trying to find a way to get 1 on the board. Service from Pickett, and that one stopped. The rebound, that shot fired, another rebound, deflected. Nothing going for Orlando on that one. Evans. Farrell couldn't do anything with that ball.
Great to see this Pride team not giving up. I don't think we saw that kind of fight when they were down to Carolina last time they played in April. Ball coming over. Lashnak gets her hands on it, gets it out, can't keep it totally clear. I think that was Weatherholt almost, or was that Evans got a touch on it?
But that initial stop there by Leshnak, and then she has that hit off her legs. And then, and then it looked like Evans hit the ball, and then it hit her own teammate, Rachel Hill. But Lashnak looking for her first career shutout for North Carolina.
In her debut.
For North Carolina, if they're able to hold on to this score, it'd be their 3rd clean sheet of the season.
And with that assist on Kristen Hamilton's 3rd goal, Jaylene Hinkle is now tied with Yuki Nagasato of Chicago for most assists on the season at 3.
Ball sent forward, but headed away by Presley.
With those 3 goals, Josh, that means Carolina just keeps climbing up there for most goals on the season.
And you go back to the start of this one, head coach Paul Riley shaking things up in terms of the formation, putting Hamilton up top with Lynn Williams, and that paying off this evening. Paying off with 3 goals for North Carolina, all of those coming from Kristen Hamilton. Belinsky, just too much of a touch on that one for her to get the ball back in the area. Greening sends one in, and that one well off target. We've still seen Orlando trying to find a way to get 1 goal, not quitting. Frustration all around for the club, but the one thing is they have not given up this year. They're trying to find ways to win, and it was kind of what we talked about it going in at halftime. They put together a solid first 45 minutes, but could they do that for the rest of the game? And unfortunately not the case this week, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board. But we are seeing areas more so here as the season rolls on for Orlando where they are finding success. And again, they have a very young team as well. If they can start to put things together and move forward, maybe here in the next few weeks, they will finally be able to find that first 3 points.
Just getting a shutout in the first half, which they haven't had all season, that's got to feel good. You know, some good performances. It seems like Rachel Hill getting a little bit further up in the attack. You know, and knowing that it is a rebuilding year. It's a first year for Mark Skinner in the league. They've signed Claire Emsley, which, you know, is going to be a great addition when Scotland's done with the World Cup. You know, keep in mind that they don't have to wait till the World Cup's over for her to join them. Whenever Scotland's World Cup is done is when she will join them. And now you've got a break for all teams coming up. After Sunday, there won't be any NWSL games for a good 12 days. It's kind of the World Cup break, but almost the whole first round, not quite. So they've got some time to rest, regroup, and attack going forward.
Hill on the outside. Pickett with the left sends one across. And Kurtz will just calmly hold on to this. You talk about not just Orlando being a team to regroup, all these teams being able to just have nearly 2 weeks off to recover, rest any wounds, and also at the same time get back to the drawing board and get back to work at the same point to find a way to see how they're going to move forward here the rest of this season.
And for Carolina, ending that winless streak, getting back to scoring multiple goals even without, you know, your major players like Crystal Dunn and Samantha Mewis, and boom, with those 3 points, you're back up in the thick of things. You know, it's in the whole history of Carolina, which obviously isn't a little bit more than 2 seasons. They've never been lower than second place, so I think it's a good challenge for them to have. And of course, we know Paul Riley likes to play the storyline of underdog.
One of the things that head coach Paul Riley talked about, how every team week in and week out is going to give them their best, and for Orlando, able to do that for about 58 minutes before that first goal in the 59th minute by Kristen Hamilton. But Orlando was in this one. They gave trouble to North Carolina. Unfortunately for them, just not enough trouble this evening. For Orlando on the season now, still in search for that first win. But a number that they don't want to hear and fans don't want to hear, but this will be their 7th loss of the year. 1 draw, they do have that lone point, as this is played inside. And then cut through, and then that will be scooped up on the play by Kottmeyer. But for North Carolina, they will now improve to 3 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. Now 12 points on the year. They will jump up in the standings, and kind of going back to your point, talking about just the various movements that we've seen here so far in the NWSL, where just the table is constantly switching, and now, as of tonight, North Carolina jumping up over Portland into that third spot, Portland with 11 points, but still more NWSL action. Washington got a victory tonight. We have 2 games tomorrow, but here in this one, your final thoughts of North Carolina in Orlando.
Well, I know some people were panicking about North Carolina. I didn't really think that they would keep sliding. They've just got too much talent, and they know how to break down a team. Orlando, we're seeing little glimpses of the future, and I think the pieces are coming together. Probably not quick enough for this year, but those pieces are coming together.
Orlando Pride, next game will be the 15th against Houston at 8:30. North Carolina, they'll be next, also on the 15th. They'll host Portland at 7:45 Eastern, but we'll return after this. Stick around. Our score, North Carolina 3, Orlando Pride 0. Welcome back to Orlando City Stadium. Orlando falling at home 3-0 to North Carolina Courage. And well, it took North Carolina Courage 59 minutes, but they finally got on the board and they got things rolling. As we'll take a look back at the highlights from this one between North Carolina Courage and the Orlando Pride from Orlando. And here you see Bogago moving forward for Orlando, sending one across, trying to find Hill. Does, but Hill just wide of the frame. She had a couple of good chances tonight, just unable to get anything on the mouth of the goal and get one on target, as that one would go wide of Leshnak. Leshnak, what a game for the rookie. Here you have Hinkle send it in, and that's going to come loose off Kottmeyer, and there is Hamilton to send it forward and in for the goal. And Hamilton would not be done as she squeezes through and goes with the left and finds the right corner. That would be her second of the night. And then she would add one more to that. Tonight was all Kristen Hamilton, as she had a hat trick this evening against Orlando. As here you see Hinkle send it in, and there once again, this time with the right foot, Kristen Hamilton finishes it off. All 3 goals and a hat trick coming for Kristen Hamilton. As we'll take a look at the stats between this one. And Jim, what sticks out to you tonight here in terms of stats?
Well, we saw with the second half, actually Orlando crept up just a little bit on possession, got a shot on target. So that's improvement from the first half, which most of the games we've seen this season, we've seen them kind of perform less in the second half. So we're seeing the fight in Orlando. We're seeing some glimpses, but North Carolina, totally their game. Definitely Kristen Hamilton's game. Great assists from Leah Pruitt and Jaylene Hinkle, and that shutout with some key saves from rookie Sam Leshnak, first time in goal.
Well, what a game it was for North Carolina. They get their 3rd victory of the season. A final here in Orlando. North Carolina 3, Orlando 0 for our crew. Greg Hanfield, director Jenna Rodriguez, producer Jose Bueso, Jen Cooper, I'm Josh Toll. Good night from Orlando.
And may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the National Women's Soccer League.